First up is this super cute custom wrapping paper, and I just used a potato, and we are creating a potato stamp. Yes, a stamp from a potato. And you're just going to cut a potato in half, draw your design out using a marker or a pen. I opted for a star, but last year I actually did a tree. I did this same technique on a gift that I did last year, but this year I wanted to use a star. And then I used a little X-Acto knife, but you can use a kitchen knife if you have one. Just be very careful if you don't know how to use a knife, or if you just don't want to cut yourself, have an adult do it or something like that. So I cut out the star shape around the edges, and basically you're just going to want your shape to be the highest point. That way when you apply your paint or your ink or whatever it might be to the center of the stamp, it will stamp on there. So I cut out quite a bit around the edge of that star shape and then used a paintbrush with a little bit of black paint, and I just painted it on the stamp. And the potato is actually like pretty juicy, so it actually kind of creates a watercolor effect because some juice will come out of the potato. The potato will juice on your wrapping paper, which is totally fine, and I think it looks really nice like that. I think it looks a little bit more organic and handmade. And then I just use a flat edge paintbrush, the same one I applied the paint on with, just to touch up those edges and just give it a nice clean finished look. And I repeated the process on my entire piece of white gift wrap. And if you're curious as to where this gift wrap is from, it is actually from Paper Source. They do have both white and just like the craft colored gift wraps. I know I get that question a lot when I do videos like this, and I wanted to also go in and just clean up those edges one more time quickly using the edge of my paintbrush. And like I did mention, they kind of do look watercolored, which I really do love. And you can actually just do a couple of them and then wrap your gift with your paper and then stamp on the rest of your gift with the stamp again. So you don't have to stamp everywhere and like repeat the process so many times. So I wrapped my gift how I normally would, just by folding up and tucking the edges on both sides of the gift. And then I went back in with my little stamp and a little bit of paint and just completed off the gift, stamping some stars wherever they were necessary just to finish off the entire present. And I just felt like it was not completely complete yet. I wanted to add a super simple bow with a little bit of butcher's twine, and I found this at Paper Source as well. It's just a simple white thicker twine, and that finishes off the gift. This next gift is a little bit more rustic, but I do love that look, and I started off with just a little bit of craft wrapping paper, and essentially craft is just kind of like a recycled brown looking wrapping paper, which I think really adds that nice sort of like Pinterest vibe to your present, which we all know and love. And I just wrapped the gift how I typically would. This was a shaving set that I'm getting for my brother, so this gift was actually a real one. You'll see what I mean by the end of the video. And then I used a little bit of this burlap ribbon that I found at Joann's Fabric, and I used a little bit of that baker's twine as well that I used in the first present, and I tied a bow and I just layered the two together to give it sort of a simplistic vibe. And then what I did was use a little sprig of pine that I found. Well, I actually got it in a PR gift from a company, and I decided that I was going to repurpose the PR present rather than have it go to waste and wrap some gifts with it. So I pulled the bow and the pine over to the right side of the gift, and I added on this little pine cone, which was also in the PR gift, and I just glued that onto the center of the bow, and that finishes this one. This next wrapping idea is super quirky and fun, and I think it'd be great for a kid, but also great for anyone who just loves like a little bit of sparkle, you know? And I started off with some white wrapping paper, and I wrapped my gift in the white wrapping paper how I've been doing the whole video, just typical gift wrapping, cutting off the ends if you need to, and then just folding them down, making it nice and clean, and taping off the end. And then once you have that done, I use a little bit of just liquid glue, and I kind of created a cluster of glue over on the right-hand side because I poured on some gold sequins, both circle-shaped sequins and star-shaped sequins, and I just put these on the right side of the gift and just made sure that then I cascaded some out. So I did a couple dots of sequins here and there and just kind of created a cascading effect from left or from right to left, and you'll see what I do to really finish this off in a second here, but I just added those on there. And then once I added all the sequins, I used a little bit of gold paint and I watered it down and used a paintbrush to splatter on the gift some gold dots, which are going to fill in all those open gaps in between the sequences and just make it look sort of like a kind of like galaxy, but not galaxy at the same time. And then I used a little bit of twine that has a gold string running through it. And then on the left side, because I thought it looked a little bit bare, I just added To Mom from Drew, which finishes off the left side of the gift. And that is the completed sort of galaxy inspired present. This next gift looks super luxurious and I'm obsessed with the way it turned out. And I started off with a simple white cardboard box, just like a gift box, and used a little bit of this copper gold toned ribbon, and I just tied a simple knot on the front of the box just sort of to keep it closed. And then I used a little bit of this holiday foliage, I guess you could say. I think there's some pine tree, some evergreen tree, some mistletoe, and I just tied it together because I wanted to kind of create almost like a little mini boutonniere to put on the front of this box. I thought it would just look pretty. So I glued this down directly on top of the knot there and just glued it on top using a little bit of Strong Bond adhesive. You can use hot glue if you want to, but I just opted for something that was a little bit easier to use. And then I glued down this Happy Holidays tag, which again was part of that PR gift I mentioned. They included this Happy Holidays tag, which was handmade and it's like calligraphied on there, and I love it. And then I just added a little bit of a banner edge to the ribbons, and that finishes off this gift. And lastly, I also wanted to create a gift with a bag because it's definitely an easy way out, but we all do it, we all know it, and we all love it. So I started off by taking this ceramic ornament. I found it in the dollar section at Target, and I'm kind of making this a 2-for-1 gift, but I'm going to customize this ceramic ornament because it's just a simple star. So I decided to write my brother's name on it. I'm actually gifting him a pair of socks in this container here and a little keychain. So I just wrote his name Jace on here, which is my brother's name, in a cursive, just sort of hand lettered it out. And then once I was done with that, I went over it with a second coating. And then just a couple of dots all around at the outside of the word Jace. You could do little dots, like little scallops around the edge, a border if you want to, whatever it may be. And then I added my own string to the ornament. That way, when I loop it on and string it through, I can then tie it on to the actual bag with a little bow. But when you untie the bow, you can then recreate this into an ornament to hang on your tree year after year. So it's kind of like a little memorabilia as well, which I do love. And I just put a candle in here because I don't want him to see his present for now, with a little bit of this cute gift wrap that I got at World's Market. I think I shared it in one of my past videos. And that finishes off this gift. I just added a little bit of evergreen tree just in there, sort of popping out to give a little bit of life, and that finishes off our last present.